Welcome to Day Zero Update for June 23rd, 2024. I'm your host, Chris Logi.
I'm Brandon Perkins.
And I'm General Victoria.
And yeah, we've got a big week this week as Nintendo finally decided to let us know that they're releasing games in the rest of this year. So we got some expected stuff and some nice surprises there.
Oh, yeah.
We got a limited run game showcase with some nice little surprises there and some sicko games.
Yep.
We got some other stuff getting dates here that are coming out here in the next couple of months. And yeah, we'll get to that stuff here a little bit later. But before we do that, we'll start with what we've been playing. And I'll kick it off here. I have finished the main campaign of the Case of the Golden Idol.
Yep.
Which I really enjoyed. Very good sort of ending for the sort of story that it was telling. And they even give you a nice little epilogue of like, hey, do you remember what happened before all this? Things to remind you of what happened before. So that was pretty nice. So I'll be starting up some of the DLC campaign stuff that they've got in there. 2 more little story things going on. So I'll check that out later this week. Also been playing some more Fallout 76 as I've continued to kind of get a grasp on how how you're supposed to handle your weapons and all that as it goes with the conditions of them. Like in Fallout 3, you kind of have a meter showing how long until your weapon breaks. But unlike Fallout 3, where you could just easily use duplicate weapons to repair it, here you have to use explicit repair kits.
Yep.
That either you pay for with either paid currency or the currency you earn doing daily, weekly, stuff. Challenges they have in the game. It's part of the season stuff. Or you get the slightly better version that drops in a lot of like end game type of events. To which just kind of makes it seem like, oh, this stuff. You should kind of probably just not obsess so much like you would in a regular Fallout game of like getting your good guns and just managing them. Because everything here has levels to them. So newer guns you get as you level up tend to be better than the ones you had when you started, that kind of stuff. So that kind of makes it seem like I should stress out less about trying to repair things and just move on and try out other weapons, I guess. So I've got like hunting rifles with magazine extenders and that kind of stuff on them. That are some of my main ones, as well as like a big laser pistol, some of that kind of stuff. But yeah, kind of working my way around. I think I've beaten another major like cryptid type of enemy in here called a Grafton monster. There's a city on the map called Grafton, so I assume somewhat related to that. It kind of lives in this toxic part of the map, so it shoots out like stuff that's going to fill up your radiation stuff pretty quickly. Managed to kill that with the help of some other weird monsters called Sallygasters that are really fucking weird. They look like one of the dick monsters in Dick Personas in Persona. It looks like that kind of monster, so it's really freaky looking, but yeah, still kind of enjoying that. So I'll still keep playing that a bit here. I did jump into a game I hadn't played before, Alba, a wildlife adventure. This came out, I think, a couple of years ago, but I've had it on Steam for a bit, but I managed to start it up yesterday. Played a couple hours of this and really liking it so far. It's a very chill game about playing as like a 10-year-old girl named Alba who is on vacation to her grandparents. They live in this like island nation, I guess. Somewhere in like, it seems like the Central America or somewhere around there. And so yeah, you're visiting, you like taking pictures of wildlife and doing all that kind of stuff. And then you find out that the mayor has an announcement that essentially they're gonna build a huge luxury resort hotel on the nature reserve, or what was left of it, because there was a fire there or something happened some time ago, and they never tried to rebuild it. And so, in response to that, you and your girlfriend Inez set out to get signatures to try to stop it. And so along the way, you're kind of using a smartphone to take pictures of creatures around the island, birds, cats, squirrels, rabbits, all that kind of stuff. Kind of catalog them in this app that lets you sort of track what you see, that kind of stuff. And yeah, you're kind of going around, rebuilding some of the little sign stations that show you, like, here's some creatures in this area, kind of thing, with like new pictures and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's a nice chill game about just exploring and seeing what's going on. You're talking to people, doing stuff. A little bit about some poison being dropped around the island that's being used for pesticide. It has a whole deal is like poisoning animals that are getting injured, and you get healthcare kits to help the animals you find, that kind of stuff. So you get a little bit of that. There's a little bit of like picking up trash around, trash cans, that kind of stuff. So you're kind of very much like a goody two shoes girl, trying to help out the environment and all that. So it's a nice little game. Definitely check it out if you want one of those kind of games. So there's that. And then yeah, I played a couple of the new retro games on PS Plus Premium. There's Daxter, the PSP classic, which still holds up very well. Maybe the one weird thing is that it was a PSP game. As a 3D platformer, they moved the camera to the R1L1 on a PSP, and so when they remapped that to the right stick here on a PS5, it's inverted. So that makes sure that it's going the right way, because otherwise you would be hitting R1 and it would be looking, camera would move to the left, that kind of thing. But they still have R1L1 for camera stuff as well, but it's uninverted. So it's kind of weird that they're both opposite of each other. If you go into the options to invert the R1L1, it then re-inverts the right stick for that. Kind of a weird setup. But yeah, it works out pretty well. But yeah, for that design, you can't really see below you with the camera because it wasn't designed for that originally. But otherwise, it's a fun action platformer kind of thing. As you're basically, I think, in the process of, I forget if it was Jack and Dexter, or Jack 2 or Jack 3, but essentially Jack is getting arrested by the authorities, and Dexter manages to get away, and he ends up running into this guy that runs an exterminator business, and so you're helping him with that, trying to work your way, I guess, to get back to Jack. Where I met him a few jobs in, so a lot of pretty simple combat to that. Works out pretty well, though. Now I have a like a poison shooter or something like that that kind of stuns enemies. But if you get it on a flame, that turns it into a flamethrower. So yeah, it's still a lot of fun for that. The other one I've been playing is Ghost Hunter. This was a PS2 game that came out before Resident Evil 4, I believe. It is from the team that made Primal for Sony, but unlike Primal, Sony did not publish this outside of Europe. I think it was Namco in North America and EA in Japan that published it. So it is sort of a spooky third-person shooter kind of game, where your main character, whose name is Lazarus Jones, is voiced by Rob Paulson, who you might know as Raphael in the original TMNT cartoon. He was Donatello in the 2012 Nickelodeon TMNT cartoon. He was also, I think, Wacko, the Animaniacs. He's a prolific cartoon voice actor, so you probably know of his roles in any of this stuff. But he voices the main character here and kind of just uses the classic Raphael voice, so it very much sticks out for me on that front. But I only played like 30 minutes or so of this because it was the amount of time I had for it. But it seemed all right for what it is. The story, you're kind of investigating this like haunted mansion, and as you're just starting, it's you hear voices that are talking to you about like freeing them, all this. So you make your way down to wherever these souls are at and end up freeing them in a very stupid way that essentially just sets forth all these spirits and monsters and such around this place. And you have a gun that's kind of there's like an infinite ammo pistol and one that feeds on ammo that drops by the spirits. You have like a grenade that captures them. So you got a little bit of Ghostbusters in there. It's a game that just controls weird because there had been no standards for third person shooters at this point.
Yeah.
No Resident Evil, no Gears of War, no Uncharted yet. They kind of set the standard for how that stuff controls. So it does control pretty weirdly, but it's all right for what it is. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's a neat little relic from like 2003. And yeah, that's that one. Let's see. And then I played some demos for that are still left over from Steam Next Fest. There's Star Trucker, which is a sort of space trucking sim where you're basically controlling this big space truck that initially you get tutorials sort of showing you how to get around and control it. In comparison to like an American Truck Simulator, Euro Truck Simulator, you have more controls around your seat that you can mess with. You can mess with a lot of like air conditioning and all that kind of stuff, up to messing with the radio, and you have a little CB radio to chat with other truckers that are nearby, that kind of stuff, as well as different sort of information feeds and camera feeds to see around you if you need that. A lot of stuff like that. That's pretty well done. But yeah, the demos still seem to be lacking some tutorials. So I delivered the first job that you start with. But as I was on my way to go get another one, I said I just drove straight at the place that I needed to get to, but there was some debris field that damaged my hull. I had to get out and fix that. And that just seemed to lead to a cascade of other errors happening with my ship that at one point caused like the gravity control to stop working. So all the items they start you with in the back of the truck for repairing things or replacing batteries and that kind of stuff, just starting to float around the ship as I'm driving. And so then I lost power and this other stuff started happening. And at a point I was like, okay, this, at no point it did explain like how you repair any of this stuff. In the event, I figured out a couple of things, but once the point I had lost power, I did not have any means for really fixing anything. So by that point in the demo, I basically went to my airlock and just ejected without my suit. Just killed myself. Still seems good. It does not have great tutorials for when things go poorly in this demo. Otherwise, I really liked it. A lot of the vibes that it has going on is pretty well done. So that's coming out to Xbox and PC September 3rd, and I believe it'll also be on Game Pass. So I'll probably check it out on Xbox there. Played Skim, the full demo that they put out. The playtest I played a little bit ago has like half of the content that's in this demo. Kind of explains more what the story is, because the way that started, you saw the dude that you're a shadow monster on grips, and and like your shadow kind of flies off and breaks from his. You're trying to get back to him through several levels, but you start off the game playing a few levels of uh, being the like child version of him as he's like growing up slowly, um, doing a lot of stuff that way, where you kind of get, I guess, the nature that these shadow monsters all live with the person they're inhabiting, I guess. Because at a certain point, you're kind of directly controlling these people that I was not expecting to be a thing. But it's like the kids driving a tricycle and you're controlling them and all that. So there's a lot of little weird things with it, but at its core, it's a pretty cool little platformer where you jump between shadows trying to figure out the correct paths to get around and all that. So that works out pretty well. Yeah, that's out July 18th. I believe PlayStation, Switch, PC. So that's one to check out. Did a video on Goblin Cleanup. This one was in a few of the showcases at Summer Game Fest. That has a Kickstarter coming out at some point. I don't know when, but they do point you to that on their Steam page. But this is a game where you are playing as part of a goblin maid crew that are cleaning up dungeons before the next hero gets there. And so you're coming in and seeing like, oh, there's blood a bunch of places, meat chunks, and a bunch of stuff's been pushed around and all that. And so you're basically going around and using slimes to soak up the blood, which once it's full, the slime dies. So that's a weird thing. You do have a mimic chest that eats up all the meat, so you feed the dead slimes to it as well. That thing you kind of control just by getting behind it and grabbing it, and using that to jump on the meat chunks and whatnot around you, and then kind of just put it in a corner to hide it from anything. Because this is a game that's intended to be played in co-op, but you can play solo. But also you can like kill yourself and create more of a mess. So it's very much one of those kind of games where you don't want other people you're playing or yourself to screw around too much. So, but yeah, you're picking up benches and barrels and all this kind of stuff to put away. You get one of your abilities to use mana, so you kind of fill up light sources and that kind of stuff to get around that kind of stuff, and it seems pretty neat. But being kind of co-op focused, when you start a stage, it kind of creates a server, so you don't have the ability to kind of save your progress. You're gonna have to finish it in one session or start over. You have to come back later. Maybe they'll change that at some point, but for the time being, that's kind of what that's all about. So there's that. So that doesn't have a release date. It's going to be going on Kickstarter, so probably not until next year at the earliest. Then the other demo I played is Checkout Cashier Simulator. This is like a very small game that looks pretty neat. You are basically, as you can guess, a cashier. For the demo, they just let you check out the overtime mode, which has you just kind of purely running people through checkout. There's a story mode, sort of campaign mode that very much seems to have anti-capitalism vibes to it. Chatter about time theft and all this kind of stuff. So there's that. But yeah, for the main cashier thing, you kind of just grab items off the conveyor belt as it comes in. Scan it. If it's fruit or vegetables, you have to set it aside on a separate thing, and then you have a little book of codes for that stuff. You enter them in, which on a mouse and keyboard, you can use your numpad to enter that stuff in. So that's like a nice little touch there for that. But then you are filling up a grocery bag. This is just paper bags as far as they show, but behind each items, you can see a color on their square or multiple squares if they're bigger items. If you put like colors next to each other, you get bonus points out of that. So there's some encouragement there to kind of put like stuff together, but I don't think it's that big of a deal for the most part. But yeah, you're kind of going through Once you have a full bag, you hit a button and it empties it out into uh, whatever. Like you're opening up a second bag, but all you're just seeing is the bags squares being emptied, and then you start putting more stuff in there. So yeah, you got to go through, check your book for the fruit or vegetable numbers to enter in, that it puts the right price in, that kind of stuff. If you make mistakes and scan something multiple times, dragging it around or whatever, there's a process for voiding out uh, those purchases because you're trying to get it accurate and fast for these checkouts. So, but it works out for a pretty neat little puzzle game for that. So, I'm curious to see more of that. So, that is it for me. So, Brandon, what have you been doing?
Well, my primary gaming is still more or less the Apollo Justice trilogy. And I finished the second game on that, so I'm now playing the third, Spirit of Justice. And that one is incredibly unusual because it not only has like 2 or 3 different storylines going, but each one of them plays differently. Basically, the storyline is that Maya, who's the weird little teenage girl that used to hang around Phoenix's office a lot as his assistant, back in the original trilogy. Well, she's been missing for 2 whole games, and she finally decides to show up again. She's in this little country called Karayan, which is kind of like a fictional mixture of like Tibet and Bhutan and Nepal, all those sort of Himalayan kingdoms. And it's basically this highly religious society where they have a piece of legislation that's been on the books for 20 years called the Defense Culpability Act, where if a person is going to defend a criminal, then that defender has to face the same punishment as the criminal themselves faces if they're found guilty. Which, as you can imagine, means that a bunch of defense lawyers have basically been imprisoned, if not outright killed. And what you know, Phoenix ends up getting into the middle of a trial because his tour guide, who's like a 10-year-old boy, ends up getting accused for treason. And now he's like, obviously this kid didn't do it. He didn't do anything wrong. But the problem is, in Karayan, they have a system where the head priestess does this thing where she basically channels the spirit of the deceased, and it shows the last moments of the deceased before their demise. And according to the Korean government, this cannot, it's infallible. And of course, as you can probably guess, in the very first case, Phoenix manages to show that not only is it fallible, it's incredibly fallible. And yeah, and that's just like one story thread. The other one takes place back in quote unquote California, big sarcasm quotes, where Apollo and Athena are still, over there, and Trucy, Phoenix's adopted daughter, who's a magician, just is having her first big, show going on, and then one of the guys that's doing the show with her ends up getting murdered, and she ends up getting accused for it. And I mean, come on, you guys all know how these go, right? Nothing normal can happen in these games. It's all got to be insane. But yeah, that's where I'm at that game so far. And other than that, I've been playing the Trails into Darkness demo, which of course, Dan talked about it a lot the other week, and largely I concur. It is definitely a bit of a bit of whiplash when you go to seeing sort of like the technological level of all the other countries on the continent of Zemuria, and then we end up in the Republic of Calvard for the first time, and it's the single most technologically advanced, society in the game so far. They have laptops, for example, and smartphones and movies. And the thing is, the way that the games have sort of put it forth is that Calvard is sort of like a modern democratic republic that's like heavily Eastern inspired. That's not quite true. It's very obvious if you've played the other games that there's definitely a heavy like Eastern presence in Calvard, like an Eastern like immigrant society that's there. But most of Calvard looks a lot like a sort of something very close to like a modern day European city. Their police officers all dress like English bobbies. Their cities are constructed like European cities. Their transportation is very close to like what public transportation in a European city is. And yeah, it's definitely a bit of a clash. What's also different this time around is, unlike in the first games where like either you were playing a member of the Bracers Guild, or in the in the Cold Steel games where you were playing members of an elite military academy, or in the Crossbell arc where you were playing the members of the police. In this case, you're playing a guy who basically runs a quote unquote fixer or business that just skirts the law, like just barely. Where he has to use like all these criminal contacts and stuff in order to get the job done. He charges a hefty fee, and he basically does all the jobs that the Bracer Guild won't touch. And yeah, that's about all I'm willing to reveal so far. But yeah, it's definitely good. The combat mechanic is definitely kind of different than like it has been. Like, it's a kind of a mixture of all of the ones that have come up to this point, but slightly different. There's like a mixture of like where you can, if you want, do like a turn-based battle if you want, but if it's like a minor enemy or whatever, you can just do regular melee attacks on the field like an action RPG and not have to like go into turn-based battle. You can if you want, and that's about it. Definitely loving it. Can't wait to be able to play it week after next. So Danrib, what about you?
Yeah. So last week I talked mainly about what I played at Summer Fest, and there were two games that I couldn't talk about, but I can talk about now. One of them is Throne and Liberty. This game is pretty much sort of an MMORPG. In fact, like that's what it really is. And this game has been sort of been under the radar for a long time now, despite all the hype going into it. And I went to it with like an empty mind, or with an open mind, because I'm not a big MMO guy. And so this one is being published by Amazon and developed by NCSoft, who did most of the previous games in the series it's related to before. And that series was Lineage. So I didn't play a whole lot of Lineage, or I mean, I've heard of it back then, but didn't play it at all because I was a kid back then. And so this was pretty interesting. Basically, the demo that they let us play was guided. We were playing with like 4 or 5 other people, and it starts off with you just selecting your avatar, and there were a lot of options. Like, it was pretty exhaustive and maybe even comparable to that of Baldur's Gate 3 as far as like the various customizations you can make to your character. So that was pretty interesting. And what sets this apart from a lot of MMOs that I've played, like obviously like the gameplay is going to be very similar to that of Diablo, because a lot of it is really just like going into dungeons and just clearing them out. A lot of what was really cool was its traversal. So in the dungeon that we played, you had to glide through by turning into an eagle. You all of a sudden turn into an otter when you have to get through water and things like that. So that was pretty interesting. And what really sets this one apart is that it's really made for console play. So as far as that goes, it was fun in that regard. All of your attacks are done with the face buttons, and you can use the left and right triggers to cycle through the bunch of different other attacks you have. And all of them also had cooldown periods, so that way you're pretty much forced to be diverse with your skill set and your loadout. So that was pretty interesting. The game is going to have a open beta fairly soon if it hasn't already started. Oh no, it's going to be July 18 to 23. So yeah, you can go into the SmashPad preview and click the link there if you're interested in signing up for that beta. So that was a pretty interesting one. Amazon has 2 MMOs coming out this year that are really interesting. This one and No Road to Turnham. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for those 2 come out. The other one I played was Tales of the Shire. So this one is a cozy game, obviously taking place in the Lord of the Rings universe. But this takes place like back when there was peace. And when you think about the Shire, you think about hobbits and you think of peace.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why this caught my eye when it was first announced like a month or 2 ago is just like both the art style and the vibrant use of color that they have in the game. In the demo that I played, it was mainly about cooking. So you're introduced to the Shire. You want to go to your house, which has no front entrance because the door is broken. I don't know if they ever fix it, but you always enter the house to the side. So that I thought that was pretty cool. And then you do a whole bunch of cooking, and the cooking system is actually rather interesting because, yeah, you can go ahead and just cook simply by using the ingredients you have and making sure that you have the right ingredients. But you could actually change the flavor profile just by changing the way you cook them a little bit. Because, for example, if you were to cook something, it doesn't really tell you how to cook it. You can just pick the items, but you also have the option of chopping them. You have the option of pickling them. You have the option of putting them on a frying pan and things like that. And the things you do will definitely change the flavor profile. They'll be sweet, they'll be salty, they'll be spicy, and those are pretty much the fetch quests that we were running in the game. We met this other hobbit who required certain dishes because she was entertaining another hobbit coming into town. And yeah, so we cooked one dish, went back to her. She made us cook another one, went back to her, and so on and so forth. And that was the bulk of the demo. And then there was one dish she made us make that we didn't actually have the ingredients for. So we actually had to pick them out of our garden. And we were at a point in the game where the garden was pretty much there for you, but I was told that the garden is something that you'll be, tending as you play the game. So obviously you'll start with 0 and go from there. And, it'll hit all the cozy game points from there. There's cooking, there's farming, there's doing favors for your neighbors and whatever it may be. It's both the Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley vibe. I'm more into the Animal Crossing stuff than I am with the Stardew Valley stuff. But the game so far was, or the game that I played was definitely enjoyable, and I look forward to playing some more of it. I was told there actually is a plot, and yeah, the game actually showed up in the direct with Gandalf being there. So yeah, I'm interested in seeing how this actually connects to the Lord of the Rings canon, if it does. But yeah, aside from that, the games that I have been playing, like right now, are both embargoed, so I can't really talk about that. But I also have been playing Eternights. I picked this up on Woot for about $12 in the PS5, and Eternights is basically a indie PS5, or not, sorry, an indie Persona that was actually, I believe, developed by one person. And like you can tell that there are similarities, especially in the anime art style. It's more close to a dating sim visual novel than anything, but there's a lot of interesting action that I found pretty difficult at first. You traverse through dungeons, you go ahead and fight the enemies in these dungeons using the battle system there, and it's action based. So that's something Persona isn't, and it's interesting going through it. You want to be able to complete your combos and at the same time use your spells at the right time, and you grow from there. Most of the growing is actually just going to be based on the conversations you have with the other people, and yeah, that's also very Persona based. And my main thing is that it's not very polished. It's easy to be taken out of that world because there are so many loading screens in between everything. They're fast, but at the same time, it's like I'm not enveloped in the world because of that. And there's a lot of like darker tones as far as visuals that I'm not entirely into. When you compare it to a game like all the recent Personas, it's nowhere near as colorful. So that kind of like makes me not care as much about the world. But yeah, I'm about halfway through, so I'll probably finish it once I get through these 2 games. So I can't talk about it yet. But yeah, that's been about it.
All right. So yeah, let's get to some news.
Mm-hmm.
First up, we've got our Game Pass lineup here for the rest of June. Not too much here, but a few things that are available at the moment. There's Still Wakes the Deep, which is the new Chinese room game. That's set aboard an oil rig. That some Cthulhu-esque horror thing has sort of taken over. That's available now. I've not checked it out. May not, because I'm not too into horror games, but you can check it out. Let's see. There's My Time at Sandrock. Is available now for console and PC. This is the sequel to My Time at Porsche. It's similar kind of, life sim, building, farming kind of thing, crafting stuff, doing all that kind of stuff. The weird thing I saw in this is that there are two separate versions. There's the base game, and then there's the online stuff that seems to require a separate download to do. I don't know if that's because it's still in early access or something, but that was a weird thing to see for that. And the other thing that is available now, Keplerth, Keplerth. This is just on PC. This seems to be a 2D sandbox RPG survival kind of thing. I was thinking it was sound like Terraria, but more if that was top down versus sort of a side view kind of thing. But that looked pretty interesting. So, but that is just on PC for the moment. For the things that are coming up, let's see. Yeah, on EA Play is getting FC 24 on June 25th. So if you have Game Pass Ultimate or PC Game Pass or just EA Play on Xbox, PlayStation, or PC, you can check that out. Yes, UEFA Euro 2024 is about to start. So there's that. On June 26th, they are adding SteamWorld Dig for console, and then SteamWorld Dig 2 for console and PC. So you can check out those two games. SteamWorld Heist is coming out August 6th or 8th. I forget which one. So neither of these two games really have that much in common other than they're set in the same universe. But you can check those out. Those are both fun games. If you like your sort of digging Metroid style games, those are all good ones. And then the last one here on June 27th is Robin Hood Sherwood Builders for PC and Xbox Series X and S. This seems to be a 12th century England survival game. So there's that you can check out. Open world RPG with base building features. So there you go. Some interesting stuff, but nothing really huge there. So that seems to be what you can expect for the rest of this month.
SteamWorld Dig has my interest because I've never played it, but it's also a game that I've downloaded in the past and just never tried. So I just gotta be pushed.
Yeah, those are good games. But yeah, let's see for what is next. Yeah, we got some dates here. First up, Power Wash Simulator's next DLC called Alice's Adventures Special Pack will be out July 2nd. This is essentially Alice in Wonderland inspired maps. They've announced, Wonderland's Entrance Hall, White Rabbit's House, Caterpillar's Mushroom, Mad Tea Party, and Queen of Hearts Court. They really got some nice kind of trippy art design here, which is in line with what Alice in Wonderland is all about. So that's pretty cool. Looking forward to that. I should have a handful more trophies and achievements to get for that. There's a new outfit, gloves, and power washer skin to fit the new locations. So that's looking cool. I'll be definitely getting that. Let's see. Then we got some more dates here. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Splintered Fate for the Switch is launching July 17th. This is the roguelike action game that has been out on Apple Arcade for a little bit. Finally getting a Switch release. It'll be $29.99. Fairly expensive, but curious about how it is. Seems like the Apple Arcade version has gotten some decent reviews, so yeah, I might check that out. I might wait for it to come to other platforms, but that's at least a good idea for a core game concept. Bring the turtles to some roguelike action stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. Then we go into August here. Pepper Grinders finally coming to PlayStation, Xbox on August 6th. Launched on Switch and PC earlier this year. Yeah, back in March. So yeah, that'll be great to see.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about this one. Pepper Grinder was one of my favorite releases of the year on the Switch. So playing it on like PlayStation could be pretty cool. Really short too.
Yeah. Seems like a game that's built around speedrunning. So yeah, that'll be fun to see. And then on the next day, on August 7th, Creatures of Ava is finally releasing. This is the sort of creature taming action adventure game that we saw in a couple of the Microsoft showcases in the past year. That's coming from 11-Bit Studios Publishing, developers Inverge Studios and T-Big. This will be also on Game Pass, so that'll be one you can check out on Game Pass. So yeah, nice to see that this is going to be out pretty soon. About a month and a half here. So yeah, there you go. And let's get to some news here about Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance. In 3 days, it has already reached 500,000 in sales.
Yep.
Which is very good for the Shin Megami Tensei series. The original game, the last number I think we got was 1.1 million. So this pushes the total sales that we know of to 1.6 million units. So essentially, this new version releasing on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC has sold about half of what the original game sold. So that's pretty good. Pretty good news. Should hopefully mean that that keeps doing pretty well, and maybe helps ensure that they should keep releasing them on multiple platforms. Especially if this is on the path that Persona has been, getting bigger and bigger. Because yeah, Persona 5 did really well, and then did even better when they released the Xbox and Switch versions, PC versions. So great news.
Yeah, definitely great news. It also comes to me as a little bit of a surprise. I mean, like I bought the game, I pre-ordered it, and I forgot that it was out. So when I got it, I was like, oh shoot, this is out already. So yeah, because of that, I haven't played it yet. But yeah, I'm not sure how well Persona 3 Reload did, because like that game is always on sale now. So I'm wondering like if like Sega, was thinking about whether SMT would be seeing the same sort of level of success. But yeah, I'm happy to see this one get the attention it deserves, because yeah, Sega has been on one this year too. I just mentioned Persona. I mentioned, and then we have like a dragon, and then they had Unicorn Overlord, and yeah, they aren't done. We have Metaphor coming out in a few months too. So yeah, they've done crazy stuff.
Yeah, Persona 3 Reload, I believe, was the fastest selling Atlas title ever. Reached 1 million units worldwide within was this about a week, 5 days maybe. So yeah, that one's done very well. But yeah, that's some good news for Atlas.
That's very good too, especially when you compare to the fact that those games are like the Shin Megami Tensei games are notoriously difficult. Like very much so. They are if your only exposure to this franchise is through the Persona games, you're in for a world of hurt, because these games do not, well, I say they don't play. Obviously you play them, but they are not for amateurs, let me put it that way.
Yeah, like one of my feats of joy with the Persona 3 Reload was getting the platinum, and to do that you really had to sacrifice your personas and just continue to like grow them in that way. And Shin Megami Tensei, of course, well, we're going to talk about Persona, but it's also a lot of Pokemon because you have to go through your monsters in that sort of way, and you do have to replace them because they are going to be weak, and at the same time they'll kill you just like that. So
Yeah, I think the thing that kind of goes against the Shin Megami Tensei series is their general vibes are a lot more negative, I guess I would say. Very much doomsday kind of stuff, though Persona gets into that a bit, but you got a while to get to that point. Of like, oh, the world's at stake now, but from Shin Megami Tensei V is very much about that pretty early on. Like, whoops, we went to the apocalypse. But yeah. Also, doesn't help that those have been primarily kind of 3DS kind of games, instead of being on like the PS2 and PS4 and some of that stuff. So yeah, that good news for Atlas, and get to some bad news for Paradox Interactive. They've had I think a little bit of a bad time lately with City Skylines 2 not doing well. And they tried to get into another genre that EA dominates, the Sims genre, with their own game called Life by You. That has had some delays. Got announced last year. I think it was supposed to come out fairly recently, and they ended up having to delay it 2 weeks before launch. And then this past week, they just canceled it, saying, let's see here, when we come to a point where we believe that more time will not get us close enough to a version we would be satisfied with, then we believe it is better to stop. This is obviously tough and disappointing for everyone who poured their time and enthusiasm into this project, especially when our decision comes so late in the process. They seem they're going to try to learn from this and, have to try to manage projects better and not let them get to the point where they're about to release them and realize, oh, this is too fucked up to put out anytime soon. It's going to require too much work, too much money to get to where it was supposed to be, and end up having to cancel the entire project. And it's a pretty good idea when you don't pull that kind of stuff as a publisher. It's wasting a lot of money and a lot of people's time. As they say here, games are difficult to get right. We'll definitely make mistakes, which, as these things go, always become painfully apparent in hindsight, but still shouldn't reach this kind of magnitude regardless. We have to take a long and hard look at what led us here, and we'll see what changes we have to make to become better. And our mission remains the same, and we'll continue to take whatever steps we need to do just that. Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, another week, which means another week of 2 or 3 layoffs or companies closing down or whatever it may be. This one hits a little closer to home. I have a lot of friends here. I actually applied to work here myself, and they went through a hiring freeze as soon as I applied. And I probably should have known that was bad news at that point, and probably everyone else did too. And thoughts out to those affected. I have seen a lot of testimonials from people of that staff, the people I know, just talking about how good the game could have been and how well they were treated whenever they had to delay it. But obviously, when it comes to the business side, this is the thing that happens, and we don't know how good the game could have been, and we never will. That sucks.
Yeah. It also just should be another example of why saying like, oh, somebody should just make a game like The Sims. And it's like that's probably a lot harder than people think, especially to start from scratch. Whereas at EA they have a team that's been working on those games for a long time, working on a lot of the same tech. So the amount of work it takes to make a sequel is probably less than when you have to start from scratch.
Yeah. And The Sims is one of EA's most important properties. But that being said, Maxis has gone through a whole lot of hell, even before they were an EA-owned property. So it's you can't just say you'll make another Sims because The Sims has been around forever. They've trademarked a lot of the stuff there, and as far as just making things better, you never know because the current iteration of The Sims is not like widely regarded by like their their community, and a lot of people are looking forward to the next game. But that being said, they finally found their footing with the live product that is the current game. So it's just rough.
Yeah. Those genres, especially like even Civilization, that kind of stuff, where people get to really like in the game with all the added content and even some of the community made mods and all that. It's always hard to make a sequel and be like, how do we sequelize this and evolve on things, but also allow ourselves to grow into adding more stuff, or maybe not having all this stuff at the beginning and overwhelming people, because a lot of those games do better when you're not just keeping everything on right away. But yeah, that's always a tough thing to do in sequels and series like that. Oh yeah, there you go. Let's get to the two showcases that happened. The limited run games showcase. We'll go here first because it's the shortest one to cover. Link here to a Twitter thread so you can check out all the various announcements. Most of what they announced is just them doing physical versions of various games that have been out or will be out in the near future. Things they're not effectively making, but the stuff that is new and kind of notable, they are doing a Fighting Force collection, which, if you do not remember that series, there's probably reasons why.
Yeah.
They were very much a PS1 demo staple.
Yep.
Of like that was their best form to play for like 5-10 minutes to be like, all right, that was good. I'll move on to something else.
Yeah.
Versus the full games, which were on PlayStation, 64, and Dreamcast, and we're all right games.
Yeah, they were fun if you had like a friend to play with, but solo it was kind of middling. It was neat. They were essentially, those games were kind of like the 3D version of Streets of Rage, and
trying to be at least.
And what made them unique was like literally just the just insane amount of like weapons that you had available to you, which was for a game that was like a side-scrolling beat 'em up, by 3D, 3D at least. Kind of a big deal because you had all the standards. You had the pipes and the knives. You also had fire axes, but you also had stuff like pistols and rifles and shotguns and machine guns, and you could like pry rails off of a railing and use them, or beat up a car and throw the engine block at people. Like, it was fun.
Yeah.
And then the second game came out and they tried to make it a bit more narrative focused, and it just completely failed.
Yeah. They tried to make it a bigger thing and they were like, nah, we're good. But yeah, that's Fighting Force. That'll be out next year at some point. Includes the 2 games. I don't know specifically which versions they're including. The trailer very much looks like they're doing the PS1 version or maybe PC version. I don't know, but I don't think you're going to expect too much out of this visually. But yeah, there you go. That's one of the games they're working on. The other one here, there's Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition. Which was a bit of surprising absence from the Ubisoft Forward.
Yeah.
But I guess if they are doing a deal with limited run games to publish the physical editions, that they probably just let them have the announcement here for that. But that'll be coming to PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC on June 25th. So that's in 2 days, really quickly. But yeah, it has the original game, probably building on the XBLA PSN editions they put out probably 10 years ago at this point, if not longer than that. They're upgrading performance up to 4K 60 FPS and more quality of life improvements, including auto save, cutscene skips, full controller and keyboard and mouse support, cross save across all platforms. I assume using the Ubisoft cross save stuff. Let's see. I believe there is some something linking this to Beyond Good and Evil 2. As they say here, learn more about Jade's childhood and her link to Beyond Good and Evil 2 thanks to a new treasure hunt throughout Hillis. Collect exclusive cosmetic rewards as you progress through the game and explore the planet. So they brought Beyond Good and Evil 2 into this game. The game that definitely is going to happen. That's definitely going to happen any day now. It's 16 years since they announced it, and we're still waiting on them to prove that it exists. But let's see. Yeah, they improved the graphics, remap controls, updated audio. Even re-recorded a bunch of the soundtrack as well. New speedrun mode, more achievements and trophies to this. So that should be cool. Because that's one of those games that was the ultimate bomb. Because it came out on the PS2, and within a month it was $10 instead of $50 because it did not sell at all.
No, which sucks because it was a legitimately amazing game.
Yeah, they just did not market it well at all. For a game that's basically if Zelda was a photography kind of game.
Yeah.
With combat in there as well, but
there's combat. There's not a lot of combat. A lot of it is, like you said, it's mostly photography and like stealth.
Yeah,
that's the majority of the game. Obviously, like there's other stuff you can do, but that is most of it.
Yeah, it probably did better as like a PSN XBLA release, I assume. But if you got one of those $10 copies, you're like, hell yeah, I got a game that just came out for $10.
Yep.
Can't beat that. Can't beat basking in Ubisoft's misery. So there you go. That's out a couple days. And yeah, speaking of weird PS1 games, we got a Fear Effect coming to PlayStation, Switch, and PC next year.
Yep.
I think this is just the first game. So they'll probably do the second if it seems like it's going to do well enough. This was what was this? Was this a core game? No, Chronos Digital Entertainment. This was a Square Enix joint, or Square joint back in the day. Well known because it took the baton that Tomb Raider was doing and said, "What if we make the ladies even sexier?" And then be very interested in each other, and turn this into a whole thing, to this like weird cyberpunk-esque kind of thing. Had a very nice art style to it and all that, but I don't think I've ever really seen it in action outside of screenshots.
Yeah.
It very much just did not seem like a game I was interested in. But it definitely was one of those games that made covers of magazines like
God, yeah. Just it was on all of them.
Yeah.
Name one. It was on there.
Yeah. And I think the sequel was even more magazine bait like that.
It was even more risque too.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of these like older sort of B tier PS1 and PS2 games are kind of slowly coming back.
Yeah. Or the what are they calling their engine here? I forget what they're calling it, but yeah, that's I think it's starting to happen here. Let's see, and then next up we got confirmation that Tomba 2 is coming. As they got the first game coming out here August 1st. People have been wondering like, where's the sequel? The sequel is just as good as the original. Though they managed to make the switch from 2D to 3D, which doesn't often work well.
Yeah.
But they managed to make this work pretty well for this. Kept the same kind of vibes and all that, but it's got just PS1 3D visual quality to it, so ends up working out pretty well. So yeah.
Yeah, this one's exciting. When I was a kid, I didn't have a PS1, but my uncle did, and I was never a Crash guy. I always preferred Tomba, and I never played Tomba 2, so this one was awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be coming to PlayStation, Switch, and PC next year. That'll be fun. And then we got the most sicko game of the showcase, Bubsy in the Perfect Collection. That's PURR.
What sick son of a bitch thought this was a good idea? Seriously.
Atari did, because they're publishing this version. So yeah, that'll be coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC, because you need the power of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X to handle Bubsy perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if they even say what games they're putting in here. I assume you're doing the first game and Bubsy 3D.
Oh.
Which, if you don't know, Bubsy 3D is the first console game of Bend Studio.
Yep.
Who went on to make Siphon Filter and Days Gone and do all the cool portable games for PSP and Vita for Uncharted and Resistance and all that kind of stuff. Their first game, or one of their first games, they're making like PC stuff, was a Columbo game. Very weird fact. I was looking that up. But yeah, I own the pictures here, at least the Super Nintendo game. Maybe Game Boy game. Yeah, and then Bubsy 3D, which is one of the worst 3D platformers ever.
It's arguably the worst 3D platformer ever.
Yeah.
Like there have been terrible 3D platformers, but that one is basically fails in just about every single way that a 3D platformer possibly can.
Yeah, it very much seemed like a game that wasn't finished.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
Yeah, which is very possible in that day and age. They're just like, yeah, you're done working on this. We're putting it out. And you're like, well, it's going to be shit. And I was like, who cares? Everybody loves Bubsy. They'll sell millions.
Spoiler alert, Bubsy was never particularly that popular. He was this weird mascot thing that they kept trying to push and make popular, but he never caught on.
Yeah, during the 90s, they really tried to have everything be a mascot platformer, and it was quite the era. We had a lot of good ones, but we also had a lot of shitty ones. So
yeah,
Bubsy was one of them. But yeah, I never actually watched the LRG thing. Was this actually the last announcement?
I don't know.
Okay, because if it was, that's why anything with Bubsy is a so.
Yeah, that was their last like actual announcement. I guess their last announcement is that they're partnering with Grasshopper for something, which I don't know what that. I don't know if that's like the physical version of the Lollipop Chainsaw game, or if it's for a new thing.
Yeah,
or maybe an old thing. I don't know, but yeah, they very much know their audience of people who will buy a product that's going to be in limited quantities. And Bubsy would very much fit that. I mean, they also did the what was it? The plumber that wears ties, whatever the
plumbers don't wear ties.
Yeah, they did that, which is a game that nobody really needs to play ever. Maybe if you can get it like $1, but otherwise, it's not really a game. It was an FMV game that was very light on game stuff.
Or FMV, for that matter. It was mostly a slideshow.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go. That's the limited run games showcase. At least the new stuff. You can check the Twitter thread to see like what new stuff, what digital or physical products they're going to be putting out. But yeah, so there you go. But to the thing that kind of was a bigger deal, the Nintendo Direct finally happened. And they made sure, again, to let people know they're not announcing anything about their next Switch system. Just in case. But people were very much took one of these announcements like, is this on the next Switch? Is that what's shown here? And it's like, no.
No.
Nintendo doesn't do that shit.
No.
They're going to be very vague about things as long as they can.
Yep.
And they're not going to be like, we're going to mislead you into thinking this Switch game is actually a Switch 2 game.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that. But we'll run through this stuff. There's some new stuff here. Kind of skip over the old stuff, but they started off with their first big new thing, which is Mario and Luigi returning for Brothership is the subtitle.
Yep.
Which I believe believe this is the first Mario game with the word brothers in it, and not bros.
Yeah, you're actually right. It's got the whole name. It's got the whole word on it.
Whole word on it, but it's not the full word. So
No.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very weird name, but they are bringing this RPG franchise back in a weird way because the developer of the original games, Alpha Dream, no longer exists. So people have been like, "Who the hell's making this? Is it some team that happens to have a bunch of those people on it?
It's
Who knows?"
yeah.
But
It's Monolith Soft.
yeah,
The
Nintendo
Xenoblade people. Yeah.
Nintendo has this new strategy of never announcing a developer until the game is out and people roll credits. So that's a Nintendo thing. But there are people that were on the Alpha Dream staff that are on Nintendo's teams now. I'd imagine like this has something to do with it. But yeah, the main reason why this is a surprise, aside from Alpha Dream, aside from the fact that Alpha Dream doesn't exist anymore, is the fact that we got Super Mario RPG late last year. We got Thousand Year Door like 2 weeks ago, and now Brothership, which is part of their other RPG series, is a brand new game. So it's like, okay, is Nintendo just trying to like figure out which RPG we like the most and just focus on that? Because if they are, then I don't know why we're getting a completely new one, but I'll take it. So it's definitely a pleasant surprise.
yeah, and it's got a really interesting like cell shaded style to it. That looks really good in the cutscene stuff, but kind of looks a little weird in the battle system stuff from what I've seen here.
I haven't really decided whether I like it, but it's definitely similar to all the key art we've seen for the Mario and Luigi games. But the main thing to point out, of course, is that this is the first Mario and Luigi game on a modern console, or at least on a Nintendo modern console. So
yeah, I think it's the first on any console.
Yeah,
they've all been on like GBA or the DS or 3DS.
I know. I just had to point out my usage of the word modern because I'm pretty sure we're not going to call Switch a modern console.
Yeah, but it is for Nintendo. But yeah, they look like they have a bunch of new battle stuff to it. Like one of the special animations has Luigi using his hammer to hit Mario with his hammer, then do like a powered up attack, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
There's like Mario kicking a Koopa shell like it's a soccer ball. Same with Luigi doing that, and at least looks like it animates pretty well. I don't know how the art style holds up, but it does look pretty sharp. So yeah, kind of interested to see where this goes, but won't have to wait too long. This is out November 7th. So there's one of the main fall games for Nintendo. Then they went over the NES World Championships, NES Edition, again, as that's out July 18th, so not too long away. Mainly showing off that they have a survival mode and legend challenge mode, which the let's see, legend challenges like completing Super Mario Brothers from World 1 to 8-4 the short way with warp zones, or race against the ghost data of players worldwide in survival mode. So you don't have to necessarily play against them live. It has local multiplayer challenges for up to 8 players, that kind of stuff. So that's pretty neat. That's out, next month. And they showed off Fairy Tail 2. So I guess there's a room for another game of that. That'll be out on PlayStation, Switch, and PC this winter.
Yep.
If you like that anime. Then we got another Apple Arcade game getting freed from the iOS ecosystem, Infantasian Neo Dimension. This is coming to everything: PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. This is a Mistwalker game, in case people forgot that Mistwalker still technically exists.
Yeah.
I believe the iOS version on Apple Arcade came in 2 parts, so I believe this is both of them together.
Yep.
So yeah, this is a new JRPG with Nobuo Uematsu back on this, leading this, and it kind of has an interesting battle system where you kind of can curve the attacks you're doing to kind of hit rows of enemies or whatever works for the way you want to do your battles, that kind of stuff. And yeah, they got music from Hiroguchi Sakamoto. He's back in what I believe is essentially his final soundtrack that he's doing.
Yep.
He said he's too old to do. Spent a few years working on soundtracks for a game. So this is likely his final work for that. So yeah, that's neat looking. That'll be out this holiday season at some point.
All right.
Yeah. Then we got Nintendo Switch Sports has a new update, adding basketball. I believe they're adding like a regular 2-on-2 basketball mode, as well as a bunch of side stuff like 3-point contest, which was like the second Wii Sports game, Wii Sports Resort.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to ask whether Wii Sports Resorts had basketball because I forgot whether it did. So.
Yeah, I believe that is the one that had the basketball in it. That was all right. This is probably going to be all right as well. That update is coming sometime this summer. No date on that yet, so we'll probably find out at some point on that.
That'll be a tweet.
Yeah. Then we got our first indie game, Mio Memories in Orbit. This is coming to everything: PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. I believe it's next year. This is like a Metroid-like kind of game. So yeah, that looks neat. So we'll see some more of that at another time.
Yeah, really, the hand-drawn art kind of look to it.
Yeah. And then we got a new update for Disney Illusion Island called Mystery in Monmouth. So that's already out, so you can check out the added stuff that has to it. So it adds like a new little detective mystery story thing you can do. So there you go for that. Then we got Hello Kitty Island Adventure. That's coming out next year for PlayStation, Switch, and PC. There's also a timed console exclusive, so PS5 and PS4 will get that at some point after that. However long that is, but yeah, they are porting this as, I believe, another Apple Arcade game that is being brought over. Essentially, Animal Crossing, but Hello Kitty for that. So yeah, that'll happen at some point next year. And as we get to this weird point, because they push this direct as like, oh, you can see what we've got coming for the rest of this year. And you've already seen a few games that are 2025. At that point, you're sort of like, how is this going to work with the new Switch supposedly coming out next year? Are these going to be just Switch games you can play on that? Are they going to be upgrades? Are they going to be new versions? Obviously, all questions. Nintendo's not going to field it all at any point until they announce the next thing, but that's a weird aspect of this whole direct. Then we got the most old school game here, Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports. What was that, Dan?
Just real quick, like it was really interesting having Hello Kitty Island Adventure in there. I mean, like aside from the fact that it's a South Park meme, this was a game that they really wanted me to try at Summer Game Fest, but I just couldn't make the time for it. But the funny thing is, like, if you look at the Nintendo Direct views for every like individual game, I think Hello Kitty has like the fourth highest. It's like right in front of something, but like Zelda was the highest, and then it was Metroid, and then it was Mario Party, and then all of a sudden you have Hello Kitty. So I was like, okay, people really want this game, and it's console exclusive. So that was pretty funny in my opinion.
Yeah, that's kind of coming in a genre that's pretty hot right now. So there you go for that. Yeah, and sort of the most old school style game here, Looney Tunes Wacky World of Sports. Bringing back the Looney Tunes for a game that, a style of game that very much looks like a thing you would have gotten on the Super Nintendo.
Yep.
That I've written off because it's probably terrible. Come to everything: PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. It's coming from Game Mill Entertainment, so it is probably terrible.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's a sports collection. They got basketball, tennis, golf, and soccer in this, so you can check that out when it's out this fall.
I think they do make a fighting game though, and that's pretty.
Yeah, So yeah, there you go. Then there's an Among Us update that adds some new stuff that's out now and everything. So check that out. And then next game of note, Farmagia. Will be out November 1st for PS5, Switch, and PC. This is come from Xseed and Marvelous, featuring, I believe, the artist of, I forget what
Fairy
anime.
Tail.
Yeah, that
Hiro
guy.
Mashima. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done the art on all this, and they are looking to do an anime adaptation of this game, at least based on the game world. But yeah, it is a monster farming and ranching game.
Yep.
Essentially, where you are essentially gaining crews of these creatures that's used to fight with you. In the world of Felicidad, which is a weird name for a world, but okay. And yeah, you're kind of farming, doing a lot of farming, and what grows that is not food, but creatures that you can use in your seemingly large army that you can control. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting aspect of it. So yeah, that's out in November. So you can check that out. Then yeah, we got some more nostalgia with Donkey Kong Country Returns HD getting announced for the Switch.
Yep.
And with the weird date of January 16, 2025. Trying to get as close to when they might possibly release a new Switch. Would still outside of the second half of 2024. But
yeah,
they are essentially bringing back that game. I think redoing some of the visuals, so there's a contingent of people complaining that it doesn't have all the effects from the original game visually, but also it's going to have 80 levels, I think, including a bunch of the ones that were exclusive to the 3DS version. So now you kind of had the ultimate release of this game. So yeah, that looks like it's going to be pretty neat as an early 2025 game. And then we got to the nostalgia stuff here. Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. Got a date of November 14th. That's on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, as well as the Switch. And yeah, that'll be $60 for that. Yeah, looks really good still. And they followed up by confirming the thing that people were kind of assuming when they were resurfacing the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. It's like, oh, they may be doing 1 and 2 as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I think people thought it was going to be like a trilogy bundle, but they essentially announced that the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake is coming out next year for all those same platforms. So you'll be able to check that out at a later time, sometime next year. We'll see, but yeah, that's exciting to see they're doing all this.
Oh yeah, they're trying to keep those older games relevant in some way. And I guess this whole let's be honest, it's a stupid name for what they're doing here, but you know what, whatever. If it works, it works.
Yeah, I mean, like the HD 2D stuff, it's a selling point for me because it's never looked bad in any game that it's been put in, whether it be Live Alive or Octopath that originated it all. I'm a huge fan of it, and I'm glad it's coming to Dragon Quest. Brandon and I will go on for hours about how great Trails is and like how it deserves more attention. But Dragon Quest started it all, and it doesn't have nearly the attention that a Final Fantasy or a Persona has, and there's really no reason why. Like, aside from having Yuji Horii, you've also had obviously the late great Akira Toriyama, who he won't do it anymore. But yeah, like this game definitely deserves the attention, and like one of the reasons why Dragon Quest is so revered to people who love the series is that it's changed, but it still has that classic feel. The battle system has pretty much never been touched, and everything that you expect in that game and in that series is still there. And that's why I'm looking forward to seeing like what kind of ways this HD 2D remake, brings it to 2024. But I also still expect it to still feel like Dragon Quest. And the cool thing about announcing 1 and 2 in the way they did was that chronologically, 3 is first. So playing it in this order, is definitely an interesting thing. I don't know whether 1 and 2 is going to be like one game or whether they plan on separating it. I don't care. I will get it anyway. But yeah, like this is really exciting, and I just don't know which platform I want to get it on.
Yeah, I believe 1 and 2 is going to be a bundle together for that. They do mention quality of life stuff here, but I don't know exactly what that entails. But yeah, they do mention like adjustable battle speed and auto battle settings, some stuff like that. New animations. I believe there's voice work in this as well. So yeah.
Either
They're
way,
doing
I
some
mean,
of that.
we talked about Shin Megami Tensei getting its flowers. I hope Dragon Quest gets its too. And the hard thing is, it's Square. They never are impressed by anything. So we'll see.
Yeah. Seems they're going to do a collector's edition of this as well.
Oh yeah, I think it was $250.
Yeah, there's a game storage box for both 3 and the 1 and 2 remakes. You get the acrylic blocks. You get special DLC, digital wallpapers ×2. Exactly what you want in a collector's edition. So yeah, and there's like pre-order DLC, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that stuff looks neat. So then we got Funko Fusion is out September 13th. That very much seems like the game that people claim Fortnite is in terms of just being a mishmash of brands. But Fortnite is actually fun, whereas Funko Fusion does not look like fun.
Yep.
I don't know, but yeah. So there you go on that. Let's see. There's the new Denpa which is a weird little series that was just on the 3DS that used I believe the cameras and there's a sort of ability to do the AR stuff with that. It was kind of free to play, and so this is a new free to play RPG. That'll be out July 22nd. It will be timed exclusive on the Switch, so I guess that'll come to the other platforms at some point. But yeah, it looks like weird Pikmin or something. I don't know. So there you go on that front. Let's see. We got Metal Slug Attack Reloaded, which I think is a port of the mobile game.
Yeah.
But now they're charging $10 for it and probably changing some things about it. But yeah. So you can check that out if you want. Then we got Darkest Dungeon 2, which is coming to PlayStation, Switch, and PC on July 15th. So just confirming that it's out on the Switch. Then we got Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack announcement. They are adding for the Game Boy Advance app The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past 4 Swords, as well as Metroid Zero Mission. So you can check those 2 games out. And then they also announced that they are doing a Nintendo 64 Mature 17 Plus app that allows them to have, I guess, the few mature games that were on there, but they added Perfect Dark, which has online play, I believe, and Turok Dinosaur Hunter. A game that's generally not good.
That has not aged very well.
And you can also buy outright in a better form on the Switch, because they did remasters of that game.
Yep.
All 3 games, I believe. So it's weird that it's part of this collection is just because we add something else to this. And I do like the artwork they have here, because you can see that they changed the logo. The mature rating on ESRBs at a certain point. So you can see that. So yeah, the Game Boy Advance stuff seems really good, but the N64 stuff depends on if you have an Xbox that has better versions of this Perfect Dark game, or if you give a shit about Turok, which I think most people don't.
Nope.
Yeah. The funny thing about the Mature 17 thing is that it's actually a separate app, and when you open it, it'll only have access to Turok and Perfect Dark. So yeah, there's no age gate either, so it's kind of weird.
I assume it probably plays into the console stuff that they have for that. So you
that makes
probably
sense.
if you have
Yeah.
a child account, it probably doesn't show up as a thing you can do. So you know.
Hmm.
I'm gonna see if I could get a list of the mature N64 games. Of course, they're already linking to that Nintendo 64 app, so
Yeah, I know my brother was hoping for Conker's Bad Fur Day, so maybe it'll come soon. Not now, but sometime soon.
that would be its one chance. I think there's also like Resident Evil 2 and Doom, some other stuff like that. That could be pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got that. Then we got Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero, which I
Mm-hmm.
believe is a remake of the original game. I think that's the case. Not much here mentioning that, but yeah, it's at least a new one of those that you can play on modern platforms, which is one of those Nipponichi games they put out on the PS2. I forget if this one's the one that broke away from the tile-based movement to you have like a circle to move around in, and that's gives you a little more freedom of movement to it. So yeah, that looks pretty neat. Yeah, and that's out next year. Then we're going to continue the nostalgia with the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, which includes 7 of the Capcom Marvel games.
Yeah.
X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom 2,
Yep.
Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and The Punisher.
Which is this, it's this kind of obscure side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Yeah. But one that they could put in this collection.
Yeah. And it's funny seeing people like responding again to Marvel vs. Capcom 2, because I don't know if anybody remembers this. When Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came out, it got a mixed reception because of its soundtrack. Marvel, that particular game, decided to go all in on like jazz fusion for their soundtrack, and like by modern standards, it's awesome. But back in the early aughts, people were like, "What the hell is this?"
This isn't shitty electronic music.
Yeah,
what we all listened to in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
But then it became ironically good, I think, for the community, and then they just embraced it.
Yeah, and now it's like, oh, it's just good music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like fighting game music goes.
When this was shown in the direct, they even said, "Oh, we're gonna take you for a ride here." Like,
yeah,
it was fully featured. So yeah, people obviously love it. But yeah, I don't know what it was back in the day when it was released.
I can very much clearly remember like all the magazine and reviewers on the magazines, online, on the review shows that were on TV back then. Yeah, like every single one of them is like, yeah, this is jazz, and jazz is for pussies. It's like, look, I have to remind people, the gaming industry was going through this weird period in the early aughts because gaming was slowly becoming mainstream, and so all the nerds were trying to sort of overdo it by trying to be this sort of frat boy cool thing that they thought was cool. It wasn't. It was pretty cringy even back then, but...
And I think butting into that, Street Fighter and Marvel were also both the epitome of cool, and then just having to out of nowhere is kind of off-putting, but still awesome to me. And yeah, I do think it's interesting what consoles this was announced on. Like, PS4. Like, I'm surprised PS5 wasn't a thing, and then obviously with Switch, like, you don't really flock to the Switch for fighting games, but it is what it is. And I'm not going to talk about the Xbox people being mad, but that is unfortunate. But yeah, like the main thing, Capcom has always been really good with their collections, especially when it comes to showing all the art and stuff. But what really sets this one apart for me is Punisher. I know you mentioned that the game is obscure, but I don't know anybody that's ever said a bad thing about it. So that's why I'm looking forward to jumping in there as someone that's loved beat 'em ups for a long time. So
yeah, that'll be an interesting collection. I believe it's $40 for the collection. It has rollback net code and all that, so should be a pretty solid collection there. But yeah, that'll be out later this year. They don't have a date for it yet. Then we're going to keep the nostalgia train rolling as they announced a new Mario Party, Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Yep.
Kind of taking, I guess, the framework of Super Mario Party and just adding more shit on top of it.
Yep.
Where they have, I think, 5 new maps and then 2 boards from the first 2 games, so that other collection of Mario Party stuff from 1 and 2. They're bringing over with 110 mini games, as well as like a big weird online multiplayer mode for up to 20 players that gonna go head to head in this weird mini game mode. I guess is made for having like 20 people kind of screwing around in it.
Yep.
So yeah, they're kind of doing a bunch of weird stuff with that, but that'll be out October 17th. So yeah, there's that, and then we got the nice big surprise here, a new Legend of Zelda game called Echoes of Wisdom, set in the Link's Awakening engine that they used for that remake, which I assume means it's being made by Grezzo, I think.
Yeah.
But the big thing, the big surprising thing that happens early on is that Link is fighting Ganon, and then this weird interdimensional goop shows up and swallows them, all leaving Zelda behind. Who is the new protagonist of this game?
Yep.
Her first time being the hero of a Nintendo published Legend of Zelda game.
Of an official Nintendo published Zelda game. We will not talk about the other ones.
Yeah, she's been the hero of one other game.
Yeah.
And it was shit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
To be fair, even though we don't want to talk about that one, they did not say this is the original one either. So
no,
it was acknowledged.
Yeah.
This will be out September 26th. Kind of her. She is not Link in terms of abilities. Her big thing, though I don't think she isn't capable of that as a character.
Yeah.
She's very much been a fighter in others. You know.
Yeah.
She took on her form Sheikah.
Was Sheikah? Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think this is the timeline where she becomes Sheik. So
yeah,
it's so
But yeah, she has this tri-rod that she gets from this fairy named Tri that allows her to create echoes or essentially copy objects in the environment or enemies that she beats. She can summon, essentially just recreate those, respawn those into the environment.
Yep.
Which they show like copying a table and using that as a means of getting up to ledges and such, like stacking them up in a way to let you do that. It's very much like a puzzle platformer kind of way, though she does not she does not jump in this. She just has a climbing ability there. But they also mentioned like copying a water block that then you can kind of stack those, and she can kind of swim through that up to other areas, that kind of stuff. So I imagine there maybe a part of this is a means for sequence breaking, depending on what they allow you access to copying. I don't know if there's limitations to this. If it requires a currency or a meter or something to copy stuff or on them. But you can also spawn enemies at a certain point when you beat them.
Yeah.
With which, when you spawn them, they fight for you at your side for a bit, or until they're killed, I guess. So that's a neat concept there. I hope this game runs better than Link's Awakening did.
Yeah.
Which was poorly.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this looks pretty neat.
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise there. When I first saw it, I thought it was A Link Between Worlds being remade, or maybe even a remake for A Link to the Past. But yeah, this one looks pretty awesome. And the main thing was, I don't know whether I was a fan of seeing Zelda primarily using different things to copy and paste things in the world, just because like for me it kind of came off like an Animal Crossing cozy kind of thing, and that's not what I want Zelda to be. But then when you think about it, this is Tears of the Kingdom in top-down form, just because you have almost limitless things to do. But yeah, as Chris mentioned, like we don't know if there's any sort of limitation. Like, can you summon 50 beds to make a bed bridge the way you would in Tears of the Kingdom? I don't know. And like obviously that'll lead to, maybe we'll see some slowdown because that happened in Tears of the Kingdom as well if you try to overdo it. But it's definitely an interesting way to look at things. I'm interested in seeing how the townspeople and stuff like react to Zelda being there, because obviously she's the princess. You can't just be talking to everybody you see, or you'll get killed somehow. But yeah, Brandon mentioned something about where it is in the timeline, so that'll be pretty interesting as well, because we don't even really know. A Link to the Past and Link's Awakening are part of the decline of Hyrule, assuming that Link died against Ganon in the Ocarina of Time. But whether it's part of those two means the Sheikah do exist, but it'll be interesting seeing how any of that happens. But yeah, I'm wondering if Zelda also has moves in addition to using the wand, because that would definitely be interesting from a combat standpoint. But as far as puzzles go, I love me my Zelda puzzles, so I'm definitely interested in that. And yeah, I'm very pleased with and surprised with this announcement, and it's coming very soon. September is not far at all.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's that. Let's see, we'll wrap up here. Just Dance got announced for October. That's on everything. We got to see Lego Horizon Adventures running on a Switch, which did not look as good as what we saw before, which was undoubtedly PS5 or PC version. That's out later this year. They confirmed Stray is coming to the Switch this holiday, and definitely does not look like it runs super well. So,
nope.
Again, another game where all you have is a Switch, great. But if you do not, if you have one of the other platforms, definitely check it out there. Then they showed more of Tales of the Shire, the Lord of the Rings game. Which is also coming out this holiday, and again, that also did not look great on a Switch. So more of that. And then we got some new stuff here. There's another Ace Attorney collection. For I assume these are the last games that they have to put out.
Yeah, it's the Investigations collection where you play as Edgeworth. Yeah,
the Ace Attorney Investigations collection for PS4, Switch, and PC. This will be out September 6th for $40, and that includes the original Ace Attorney Investigations Miles Edgeworth and the sequel that never came over. Both these are DS games, I believe. So they even have revamped visuals for this, so you can swap back and forth between the pixel, the pixel character models or the redone animated versions. So
that was definitely a huge selling point to me, aside from the fact that the sequel never made it to America. But yeah, the other thing, the other reason why these games were sought after, aside from the fact that Miles Edgeworth is the main character, it's awesome. These are the only games that are in third person where you could actually use a character and walk around and see various things. So it gives you a better perspective of all the crimes happening. And the other Ace Attorney games are you being a defense attorney. Here, you're the prosecutor, so you're fighting the right guilt here.
I'm also pretty sure that these games sort of take place between the 7 year period between the end of the third Ace Attorney game and Apollo Justice, because big freaking spoiler here. Who do I care? Those games have been out forever. Basically, Phoenix ends up losing his attorney's badge because he accidentally entered some forged evidence into a court case. But yeah, it's actually really cool to see, and I'm glad we're getting all these games now.
Yeah, I actually forgot that detail. I mean, I do remember that he loses his badge, but the main thing, and the reason why that's significant, is because we actually never saw it happen. We just hear about it in Apollo Justice. So I don't know if it happens in these games. But also one thing that you didn't mention was after the original trilogy, we never see Miles again. So this was sort of a way to see.
Yeah, we do. He does. He shows up in both Apollo Justice and in Dual Destinies.
Okay, yeah, I am looking forward to replaying those games so I can remember.
I'll grant you, he only makes a cameo in Apollo Justice and only shows up in the last Case in Dual Destinies, but yeah, he's there.
Gotcha. Because I do remember.
It's just that he's not a prosecutor anymore. He's chief prosecutor now. He was promoted.
Okay. I forget which game it's from, but I remember there was a time where we actually have to use Miles as a defense attorney because like they knocked out Phoenix or something.
That's the second game. I think that's the third game.
Thousand Tribulations?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because that was the one where Phoenix himself was accused, so he had to have Miles come in for him. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you go for that. Then we got our next one here. Let's see. The 100 line Last Defense Academy coming to Switch and PC.
Can you tell it was made by the people who created Danganronpa? Because I sure as hell could.
Yeah, from the creators of Danganronpa and Zero Escape, as they seem to always work together. To essentially make more games exactly like the ones they are known for.
Yep.
Yeah, this is in partnership with Aniplex and MediaVision. So, yeah, very much a similar kind of premise, though. This one involves these weird monsters taking over the town, and the two main characters here end up getting sort of knocked out in the process of trying to get away from them. They get hauled to this Last Defense Academy, essentially where a bunch of teenagers are pulled up to try to save the world, I guess, defend this academy. In that whole process, yeah, you're with like 14 other students who are trying to keep the school safe for the next 100 days. And so there's all sorts of stuff going on, like the Danganronpa games with that. So, especially with your mascot character that looks like a weird ghost.
With a little brain that you can see, floating around in his ghost body.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's one of those. It'll be out early next year. No date on that. But yeah, another one of those games. And then we got Square's new game, Romancing Saga 2, Revenge of the Seven. Remaster of the original game. Here for PlayStation, Switch, and PC, out October 24th. So that'll be interesting to see, but yeah, not. I'm going to assume not a game that most people care about in that series.
Yeah.
This is a complete 3D remake of the original. Okay. Because yeah, that was a Super Nintendo game.
Yep.
So yeah, they're kind of doing a bit of extra work to it. Looks to be a $49.99 game. But yeah, there you go. For that, and then Nintendo ended on the thing people were hoping to see. Sign of life that Metroid Prime 4 still existed, and yeah, it does. It's called Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
Yep.
It'll be out next year.
Yep. And it looks awesome.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are sort of kind of theorizing that this actually isn't going to be on the Switch. It's going to be on the next console that they're going to be debuting next year. So
yeah, I don't really see that.
They're going a little too far with that. I mean, like, if you played Metroid Prime Remastered, the game looks the same. So.
Yeah. I know. I didn't say I thought they were telling the truth. It's just that that's the rumor that's been going around. But yeah, clearly if you've played the remastered, it's like, yeah, it looks as good as that game did. Yeah.
There definitely is a more than 50% chance that this game is on Switch too, but that doesn't mean it's not going to come out on Switch. It's probably going to be on both platforms. We don't know. We don't even know when the Switch 2 is going to come out. And like that brings me to my point of it being like, people were treating this like this is going to be the last Switch Direct. No, it's not. Like, we're probably going to see the announcement, maybe a little bit after the holiday. Maybe it'll have a March release. And even if that's the case, there's going to be a Direct in January. There's going to be one. There might be one in September. I don't see Nintendo waiting this long. And like, if they do, then it's probably because we'll see like Metroid or Zelda have its own Direct. So there will be something in between there. Don't really worry so much about that. But going back to Metroid Prime 4, yeah, like this looks awesome. The villain came from Hunters. I forget whether he was at the end of Prime 3 Corruption because I didn't finish that game. But yeah, this this looks awesome. Looking forward to it. I wish it was coming out this year, but it's not.
Yeah. Kind of weird to pull your major villain from a game most people that are interested in Metroid have not played.
Yeah.
Especially not in a long time. Because that was kind of a throwaway pack-in thing for a DS early on. But, yeah, still looks good. Doesn't look like it could not be done on a Switch. Again, they're probably not aiming for 60 FPS or anything in this game. So, yeah, that'll be out sometime next year. Who knows when. But, yeah, that game currently exists. We saw some gameplay, so it's not as far-fetched as, like, say, the next Pokemon game. That we've only seen, like, wireframe cinematic stuff. But yeah, that's the direct. So a lot of interesting stuff to keep an eye on here for the rest of the year, and a handful of things that are out next year. Despite the nebulous nature of what a 2025 Switch release is going to be next year. So yeah, but yeah, we'll end the show there. So yeah, thank you, Brandon Dinner, for joining this week.
Always.
We'll be back next week with some new news as we almost end the month here. Somehow it's already the end of June. Somehow, but yeah, we'll be back next week with a new slate of news and stuff to talk about.
Yep.
And yeah, if you enjoy the show, for let friends and family know they should check out the podcast, as well as select strangers who are also not trying to act like that Metroid Prime 4 trailer was a Switch 2 thing.
Seriously.
But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you have a good week ahead. We'll see you all next time. Have a good one.